Hey everyone, it's Kevin, and in today's video, I'm going to give you some bulimia recovery tips. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so you never miss a video, and if you want to speak with me, there is a link below. If you want to start producing content and start a YouTube channel, then check out the Creative Business Academy by Essetino Artists. There is a link in the description box, and when you click it and join, you also help this channel. Start your YouTube channel and start producing content today. I've been talking quite a bit recently about bulimia nervosa. I don't know why, it's been on my mind, so I thought I would make another video and give you some more tips on recovery. Because the sooner you recover from this, the better, because you have a life to live and you have goals to reach, and it's going to be really hard if you don't overcome this. Your life is only going to be as good as your worst habit. I really believe that. If you have a really bad habit, and that's what bulimia is, it is a bad habit. It is going to affect all areas of your life. So if your potential is here and you have an eating disorder, whether it be bulimia or binge eating, whatever, your new potential is down here. So get this right so that you can reach your maximum potential. Enough motivational speak, let's get to it. The first thing I want to say is recovery should be your #1 priority, not weight loss. When you're trying to recover from an eating disorder, you've probably gained some weight because those compensatory measures, whether it's purging or over-exercising, laxative abuse, whatever, they only work so well. So you need to think about the habit itself. It's going to be almost impossible to control your weight or to make it go down or to reach your ideal weight when you don't even have control over your habits. You probably want to lose weight, and that's fine. But you need to focus on getting this right. You need to focus on stopping the compensatory behavior. You need to stop the night eating, the binge eating. You need to stop that whole cycle. And I'll talk about that in another video, but focus on establishing good habits and eliminating the bad ones. The weight loss will take care of itself. When you initially recover from an ED or bulimia, you're probably going to notice some weight gain because you're getting rid of those compensatory measures. So when you stop the purging, when you stop the exercising, you might still be overeating, you might be binge eating. That's okay initially because you're breaking that whole cycle. So break the cycle somewhere, whether it's before the binge or just after the binge. I don't care, just break that cycle. So you might notice the scale creeping up a little bit. Don't freak out, okay? Just break the cycle, focus on the habits, regain control, and the weight will take care of itself and the scale will start coming down. What you don't want to do is see the scale go up and then revert back to your old ways and start the cycle again. Remember, the most important thing is breaking the habit, breaking the cycle. Weight loss is not as sexy and glamorous as they portray it. I know we like to see before and after photos and bikini photos and booty shots, and this was me before, and we like to watch movies like Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, where somebody drinks green juice for 60 days and completely transforms his or her life. Yeah, those sell. Okay, but in the real world where you have competing demands and you have to show up for others and you have to perform and you have to bring energy, it's really hard to do something like that unless you are on bed rest and you have nothing better to do, or you're at some retreat where you're cut off from the real world. Those kinds of drastic measures are impossible. They're not realistic for the real world. That's why I say set a tangible, achievable, and realistic target. Okay, TAR, TAR. What is a realistic weight loss goal? I would say 2 to 4 pounds a month. So if you lost, let's say 4 pounds a month over a year, that's almost 50 pounds. That's pretty solid. And when you lose it slowly and over time like that, you're probably going to keep it off. It's when you do something really drastic and you shock your body, that's what's really unhealthy. That's like the Biggest Loser. Biggest Loser is good entertainment, doesn't work that well in real life, trust me. If you're eager to lose weight, that's fine, get the process started, but understand that you need to play by the rules. And what are the rules? Slow, steady, and unsexy. People probably won't notice for the first few months. You're going to be denying yourself a little bit, and you're not going to be noticing drastic changes. Your pant size isn't going to change those first 1 or 2 months. That's okay, but you need to think long term. It's like anything. If you're an investor, you think long term. If you want to lose weight and keep it off, you think long term. If you want to overhaul your diet, you think long term. You need to think long term about everything. And the challenge is when you have an ED, you're thinking short term. You're thinking about that instant gratification, whether it's the binge eating or the purging or the whatever it is. You've trained your brain to think about today. You're not training your brain to think about the future. So making that transition is a little difficult, but it's mandatory. Keep in mind that weight is always easier to manage and to maintain without binging and purging. Okay, so if you can't break that habit, if you can't stop that habit, if you can't control these two things and this, it's gonna be really hard to reach a weight loss goal, and it's going to be even harder to maintain it. My next tip for you is to start focusing on reasonable portions. You make many decisions each day about what you're going to eat. So when you sit down, I hope you sit down, you should, you need to start focusing on reasonable portions. So a reasonable portion is going to vary. It's for everybody, it's going to be different. But you probably have an intuitive sense of what that is. So if you have oats in the morning, then you know that a small bowl is probably what you need. You probably don't need to eat 5 bananas, 1 or 2 will suffice. You don't need 10 granola bars, 1 is probably enough. You know what I mean? You probably know what you need. You probably know what satiates you at this point. Now the challenge with bulimics is that they are so used to going well beyond that satiation point that they don't even know what it is anymore. So it's going to take a little bit of experimentation. You're going to have to try different portions. You're going to have to experiment with different portion sizes, and that's okay. But I think you already know what too much is. You already know that your last episode was well beyond what you needed. You also know that you need a little more than 1 bite. So start experimenting with different sizes and start focusing on those portions and start focusing on better choices too. So think about all this stuff that you binge and purge. It's probably really high in fat and it's probably really high in sugar. So start removing that from your diet. I think those are the worst foods to have in any diet, are the ones that are really high in fat and really high in sugar. If you think about it, it's the candy bars, it's the cookies, it's the cakes, it's the pies, it's the ice cream. We demonize sugar in this day and age, but I think it's that deadly concoction of fat and sugar that's the killer. So start focusing on removing those foods from your diet now. So focus on the portions and focus on making healthier choices. What is a healthier choice? You probably already know. A lot of people with EDs know a lot about nutrition, so start using that information that you have. Start implementing it. You know that fruits and vegetables in general are good for you. You know that nuts are good for you. You know that fish and lean meats are good for you, depending on who you ask. And you know that the really processed stuff that's high in salt, sugar, and fat, it's probably not good for you. You should minimize those foods. So start focusing on those healthier options and start focusing on the portions. Even if you continue to binge and purge, at least once or twice a day, have a reasonable sized meal. Prove to yourself that you can do it. Now it's a matter of replicating that. Your goal should be to have 3 or 4 reasonably sized meals that consist of unprocessed foods every day. That should be your ideal outcome. I'm not saying you should never have anything that's high in fat and sugar, but I don't know anybody who's in great shape who eats a lot of food that's high in fat and sugar. I just don't. I don't know anybody who has, 7% body fat and eats pizza and drinks beer and eats chicken wings all day. I don't know anybody who does that. Keeping processed foods to a minimum will definitely help. When you have that urge to binge and purge, that's harder to make. But when you don't have those urges and you're thinking clearly, choose less processed foods. It's going to make you healthier and it's going to help you maintain that weight. Eating reasonable sized portions of processed foods is really hard. I made a video not too long ago about my 30-day experiment eating nothing but processed foods. It was really hard to keep the portion sizes down. I always wanted to eat. I was never satisfied. I would eat 1 cookie and it was like 200 calories and I still felt as hungry as I did before. I think that's the point. If you can, keep stimulating food out of your home. What is stimulating food? It's the stuff that's really good. It's the stuff that you like to binge on. It's the ice cream and the cookies. It's the pizza. It's high in fat, high in sugar. So if you can, keep that out of the home as much as possible, because the truth is you're probably not binging on whole grain bread and potatoes. That's just not what people binge on. People like to binge on, at least me, stuff that is really rewarding, really stimulating. It's easy to chew, it's easy to consume, you don't have to repair it, and it's really rewarding, and it's not satiating. So minimize the reward of your typical diet. My next tip for you is do not relapse if you gain a little bit of weight. Like I said, when you start to recover, when you get rid of those compensatory mechanisms, when you stop the bulimia, you probably will see a temporary increase in your weight because you're consuming all this stuff, but you don't have the compensatory measures anymore. So there's no check on it. But trust the process. Trust that this is the right thing to do and that you need to break this cycle as soon as you can. Accepting a temporary increase in your weight is totally worth it in the long run because then you don't have this cycle anymore. You don't have this destructive habit. So what's more important, breaking this habit or keeping your weight down a little bit? And if you don't break this cycle, you're never going to reach your ideal weight, ever. Trust me. And even if you do, it would be a heroic effort to maintain it. Speaking of weight, keep an eye on it. Measure your body, step on a scale once a week. Start with once a week. If you're stepping on it 3 times a day, try to get down to twice a day and then once a day. If you absolutely must weigh yourself every day, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong about once a day, but I would say once or twice a week would be ideal because then you avoid those daily fluctuations, which can be really frustrating. But I don't think you should get rid of the scale completely. There are different thoughts on that. I think a scale is cheap, it's convenient, and it's a good way to keep your finger on the pulse. So don't get rid of it, use it. Use it appropriately. So let's summarize. What are some bulimia recovery tips? Try to keep the processed food to a minimum. Focus on healthier portions. Accept a temporary increase in weight gain. I do mean temporary. Keep your eye on the scale. There's nothing wrong about stepping on the scale. Remember the principles of sustainable weight loss. It's slow, steady, and unsexy. Do not try to make drastic changes in one day. Focus on those individual decisions that you're making. Also, make recovery your #1 priority. Don't make weight loss your #1 priority. When you recover and you break the habits and you establish those new habits, the weight will take care of itself, trust me. Try to keep stimulating food out of the home. When you have it in the home, it's much easier to consume. Buying it is another issue, but it takes a little more energy and motivation to go buy it than it is to eat it once it's inside your home. So make it as hard as possible. And finally, please do not relapse if you gain weight. Do not go back to your old ways. Trust the process. Make recovery your #1 priority. What other tips do you have for bulimia recovery? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you found this video educational and entertaining. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you want to speak with me, there is a link below. And start producing content today and join the Creative Business Academy by Essetino Artists. There is a link below. If you liked this video, I'm sure you'll like one of the other videos that you see on the screen. Click one of them, and I'll see you there.